Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today we are going to study techniques of mind management, which will be practically very useful to you. Mind, as you have been studying, is the primary instrument of perception. Mind is the instrument of interpretation. Mind is what makes you experience life. Mind is the cause for your happiness, whatever experience of life. So that's why it is given the greatest importance, especially in the Indian philosophical systems. They are all about study of mind and beyond mind, what is there, or rather the substratum of the mind. So it's a study into this. That's why the mind is called Antakaran, the inner instrument. It is basically, philosophically speaking, it is nothing but subtle matter. It is an evolute of Prakriti. You remember in the first class we discussed the Sankhya concept. So yoga, Vedanta, everything borrows the Sankhya psychology. It is nothing but Prakriti. That's why it's ever changing. It feeds on outer objects. Because it is subtle matter, it correlates, corresponds with the external representation of matter. And it feeds on outer matter and changes, modifies accordingly. It is a set of variables, that is why. It is in constant flux. That's why it's so difficult to control. So, but this very mind is your link with the body and with the self. Because you see, it is through your thoughts that you can even change the structure of your brain, what we call neuroplasticity. You can do that with your thoughts. It is through your thinking, proper thinking, right thinking, that you change the neural pathways in your brain. The mind affects the body so much. So the link with the body is due to mind. And with yourself also, how do you have self-knowledge? It is when you penetrate into the very source of your mind, through the mind, through the process of inquiry, then you come to the knowledge of that which is the very basis of the mind, what you are calling the Antakaran. So the mind is so very important. I don't have to tell you the importance of mind management. And this is a topic which is so popular nowadays because of this basic fact that our mind is somehow, we don't have enough knowledge of it, and it is not in our hands. That is why all our problems are actually due to that. See what happens in the external world. If I have a very mature response towards it, I will not suffer too much from anything negative happening in the external world. But if my response is in the form of an explosive reaction, then it is very difficult for me to handle any situation outside. That's why we need to study mind management techniques. So that is what we will be doing today. The great advantage of this age is, you see, we are such an empowered generation today. In fact, the most empowered generation on this planet, which ever was, because you have such an enormous communication technology right in your hands. You can get knowledge of anything whenever you want, but still the whole problem is, with so much of data available to us, so many knowledge systems available to us, we are not able to control our minds. We are on compulsive mode most of the time. Thought is just happening, as I told you. External things, external gadgets are controlling our life. Right from the time you get up, watch and see in your own life. You need an alarm clock to get up. As soon as you get up, you need coffee to pep you up. Then maybe you turn straight towards Facebook or Twitter or whatever. You start your communication with the outer world. You have hardly spent time even with your mind, not to speak of the self. So due to all these factors, finally the whole day goes like that, in texting, in communication with the external, in taking in knowledge from there. So that dominates your mental field entirely. And finally even the attention is affected by that, the focus is affected by that. Finally you want getaways after a long period of all this. So what happens is, you are trying to escape from the normal workings of your mind. So because this has become so common, you know, when we were young, we had heard of something called midlife crisis, which means towards the age of 45, 40 to 50, people it seems go through a period of crisis when, because they have already experienced all that life has to offer and there is nothing new. So they may go through a period of crisis, but today that line has come down to 25 years. It is called quarter life crisis today, in today's modern world, because you experience a whole lot of things right till the age of 25. You have finished with that experience. Then what more? The mind is in deep boredom and frustration and depression. It has nothing more to explore. So this state of affairs is simply because we have not learned to handle our minds, which is the most important instrument we should have learned to handle. Because whether you like it or not, you live with your mind. You live in your mind. And your thoughts are creating your experience of life. So this, the science of this, the study of this has been given the greatest importance in our philosophies. And they have also decided upon a few things, which means if you track the source of your mind, you learn to control it as an instrument. If you learn to control it, you learn to control your life. It's a graded process to do it, and there is a way to do it. There are solid techniques which help you do it. So basic understanding of mind is required for every person. It should be part of education. Not that you educate yourself only with regard to the external things and the internal world is just dark for you. No, it doesn't make any sense to you. If you close your eyes, you get frightened because you don't know what is happening. So this should not be the situation. Since I am functioning through this instrument, I must know everything about it, isn't it? So that is why we are going to go a little into mind management and its techniques. You see, the yogic sciences give you what is called the functional classification of the mind. How does your mind function? Another name for mind is chittam, because it reflects the chit, the consciousness aspect, and becomes conscious. Because it becomes conscious, it gives you conscious experiences in the world. This we have discussed earlier. How is it that you experience an object? Not just that you are seeing it, not that it is falling passively on your brain. You are experiencing it through that perception. This is only possible because you are a conscious being. There is awareness in you. This is making you experience the object. So at the heart of experience again is awareness. Experience is always in the first person. So the functioning of the mind has to be understood. That is why, what are the functional aspects of the mind? It is called chittam essentially because it reflects consciousness and gives you the conscious experience. It has other functions also, like the what is called manas, that is the cogitative aspect. See, the definition of manas is interesting in Sanskrit. Sankalpa vikalpatmika antakarana vritti. It is the same antakarana vritti which is sankalpa vikalpatmika, which means which is cogitative, which is considering the pros and cons of something. See, you are constantly in that state, in the state of sort of thinking through all angles, in all ways, bringing in all kinds of data. So this cogitative aspect is constantly taking in data from the outside and working on it. And if you are able to process that data well and keep the mind relatively balanced during its entire functioning, then you will come to a decision about that data. So it goes to the next aspect. But to say something more about this manas aspect, you see, you can make this manas either a gold mine or a rubbish heap, depending on the kind of data you take in. To a great extent, your thought is determined by your senses, sense input. So my manas will function according to that sense input. So it can become a gold mine. If I take in very sattvic things, my mind will become sattvic. Ahara shuddho sattva shuddhi. Aapne suna hoga? What ahar? Ahar is not just what you eat, what you take in through your senses. Agar wo sattvic ho, the mind becomes sattvic. So please see what kind of ahar you are taking. What you take in through your eyes also is ahar. What you take in through your ears also is ahar. You take in good stuff, the mind will function in a particular order. You process that information well, it will go to the next level, what is called buddhi, which means that is the determinative, the most important aspect of your mind. It is the faculty of determination. It is called Nischayatmika Antakarana Vritti. You come to a particular conclusion through your discretion, through your discrimination. And that is when you call it the buddhi. That very same antakaran has got modified into the buddhi. It is a knife-like tool which helps you take decisions. And you can hone that knife, sharpen it, or you can make it blunt. This knife has to be tempered by emotional intelligence so that it just does not chop down everything. It is able to know how much to dissect, what to dissect. If emotional intelligence does not develop along with your rational analytical intelligence, there will be a lopsided development of this intelligence. है ना? आप खुद ही देख रहे हो? So EQ and IQ should go hand in hand. You have enough training for IQ, you don't have enough training for EQ, emotional intelligence. In the past, your culture gave you the tools required to train your EQ in the form of cultural values, cultural standards, some of these practices like bhakti and all this. This trains your emotions in a way, elevates your emotions, gives you a higher, bigger slice of life. So if you don't have these tools available to you just now, you must manufacture them. You must bring them into your life through a little effort and hone your emotional intelligence. Become skillful in that, and then when you combine the two, I told you, your intelligence will simply move to the next dimension. It will simply unfold itself. Otherwise, it will go on cutting everything, slicing up everything. So this is the importance of this discriminative faculty. All these are, remember, mind is a set of variables. They can be changed according to your understanding. As you develop more maturity, more understanding, you can use each of these faculties as a very powerful tool. The mind is the most powerful instrument in the world, which is in your hands. So see how you are going to use it. This is regarding the buddhi, the determinative faculty of your mind. Then you have a third faculty which is called aham, ahamatmika. It is your ego sense. That which says I within you, the I sense. It is typically called the ahankar, isn't it? Ahankar, it appears like egoism, the translation, but actually it is your identity. Your sense of identity is due to what? Ego is a shadow of the real self. So what you consider yourself to be, the whole mind will be functioning according to that consideration. This identity, there are certain very fundamental things you should know about it. See, identity in a very still mind, you will see there is no sense of identity other than the fact of what you are, which is awareness. But when the mind is agitated, when the mind is functioning in a particular way, the tendency of the thought process, what you are calling mind, is to identify, to join with something. So we have built up identities. Just now you are a student of IIT, it's a built up identity. After some time it's going to change. I'm an Indian, it's a built up identity. We are building identities constantly, and then your entire mind will keep defending those identities because you have built them up, you have invested energy into them. You have identified with that particular aspect at that point of time. In a completely still meditative mind, if you explore identity, you will come to the very source of these faculties. What is the source of your I sense? Which is pure awareness, pure consciousness, what we say. That is getting reflected in the mind, creating your mental awareness, that is identifying with the thought process in your mind. So you are building an identity, you are getting an identity as it were. So this understanding will come by itself if we manufacture the meditative mind. You understand the very, you can say, crux of identity. Essentially Vedanta does this for you. So this is regarding that ahamatmika faculty of your mind, which is constantly in identification. You can even identify with objects. Don't people identify with their homes, with their money, with their property, with their cars? See, everybody is doing it. Then at the next level you identify with your research, you identify with your titles, with your qualification. At another level you identify with your awards, with your family. You see, it's a constant identification. Sometimes the identifications change. They can be modified, but you are constantly, the I is attaching itself to something or the other, and your whole mind will keep defending that identity until you explore the very basis of this identity, I sense in us. Then again all of this becomes an external objective thought process, which you can identify or which you need not identify with. This is entirely your choice. So you are not under the weight of this identity. You get it? Mind control aise hi hota hai. You understand some of the basic facts about your mind. This is actually the science of consciousness. Please see this. You understand actually how you are experiencing life. Before you jump and identify with something and fight for it, and people will go mad about their identities. But how true is your identity? Have you seen it closely? So try to understand it. Those of you who have taken this Vedanta course, you must see things at a deeper level. Every aspect of life, I see it at a deeper level. Closely I watch it and see for what it is. So mind management includes all of this, each of your faculties, how you are able to manage. Once you understand these basic facts about yourself, you will see it will show in your responses. It will show in your understanding, it will show in your behavior finally. So these are the aspects, functional aspects of your mind which you should know. Then there are the structural aspects of your mind, which means how does your mind function? At the conscious level you may say, but the conscious mind is only a very small strip of your personality. A large subconscious is there under the conscious, which you are not always conscious of. It pops up in your dreams, it pops up when you don't expect it to come up. A subconscious mind. You may feel, when had I thought about this? Suddenly how did it come up in my mind? So I had shown you once, there's a diagram to this, that what you consciously think for a long period of time can go into your subconscious and lodge itself there, and after some time come into your conscious plane again as memory. So the subconscious mind is the repository of your memories, what will become your memory again in the conscious mind. It's a repository of your tendencies, your habits, your sanskars, mental impressions, whatever you have taken in through the senses into your conscious mind, it will be held in your subconscious mind. So this is there, this huge portion, which you are not conscious of just now, but it's an essential part of your mind. Then there is also an unconscious portion which you know nothing about. So this is regarding the structural. The more you make your mind conscious, the more you will understand this subconscious and unconscious. That is why we tell you yoga is primarily about becoming more and more conscious. If energy is stuck up in your subconscious and unconscious, you don't even know what is going on. Some tendency is coming and overpowering you. Some emotion is coming and overpowering you. And you are helpless, like a slave. You see, if whenever they have interviewed criminals, this is the answer they give. I was helpless in that state. Some force made me do this. So, ye kyun ho raha hai? Because of the simple fact the subconscious and unconscious is full of all sorts of rubbish, which he has never explored or cleared up. The conscious mind is a very small strip, but you can make it more and more conscious. You can bring the conscious mind to the forefront, unravel and draw the energies from the subconscious and unconscious, bring everything into the forefront of the conscious plane. This is the way to regulate your life. Then you are in charge of your mind completely. You are in charge of your thought, your emotion, your will, your attitudes and motivations, all of your faculties. This is the way to bring the mind under control. Otherwise, well, it's all hidden in the depths of your subconscious and you don't know what is happening. Why something is happening in my mind, I don't know. So this is a very, it's like mind becoming matter if you are living like that. It's something you are not at all in charge of. If you are not conscious, you are not in charge. If you are not conscious, you are not even awake. If you are not awake, you are not alive. You are half dead already. So please understand this, the whole secret lies in consciousness. The more you make yourself conscious, the more you become alive, and through that consciousness you are going to experience life so much the better. See, if your present state of awareness only is doubled, how will be your experience of life? So this is the meaning of making the mind more and more conscious, awakening it up. This is possible, perfectly possible. We will be giving you techniques for this today, and along with this you should understand the basic fact that the human experience is meant to be lived consciously. The conscious mind is the intelligent mind. Please see this. Otherwise your intelligence is all blocked. It does not exist primarily if it's all only subconscious and unconscious. If it has come to the conscious plane, if you have awakened to consciousness, basically more and more awareness, then intelligence will just peak in your experience. If you read the lives of people like Vivekananda, you will see, even reading a page, Swamiji would just see it, Vivekananda would see it, and the entire information, he didn't have to go line by line even. The entire information gets soaked into his brain and he cannot forget it. Ye sharpness kahan se aata hai? The mind is fully awake. Please see this. The way to increase your intelligence is bring your conscious life to the forefront. Awaken yourself deep within yourself first. So yoga is the technique to do this, the way to do this. That's why it's always complementary to the educational process. Don't think this is some special course. This is part and parcel of the educational process. If you want to succeed in life, you must have your mind in your hands, and you will succeed in anything you want. Otherwise, external factors will determine how much you will succeed. So, let me start with the techniques of mind management. The first technique, see, you have to pay attention to this, otherwise you will miss the vital points, because I will go on telling one after the other these techniques. The first technique, which I have already discussed with you, is to a certain extent objectifying the thought process, is the primary technique of mind management, which means what? Anything happening in my mind, I have the capacity for what is called metacognition. I don't just cognize, I can think about it later on. I can work on it later on. I can think about my thinking from all possible angles. My thought process has become objective to my experience. This is the primary way to control your thought process. If you are absolutely identified with something, like for example, let me give you an example. A friend came and told you so and so, who is another friend of yours, is very angry on you and talking behind you. Now, if at once you explode hearing this information, you cannot control any situation anywhere. But if you give it more thought, objectify it, don't identify with that process, objectify it. You can control it so much better. You can go and talk with that person. You can solve the problem, whatever problem is there, isn't it? You will not explode at all. But if your thought process is not objective, just a bit of information, and it can cause a lot of mischief, isn't it? इसीलिए कहते हैं you must be distanced to a certain extent from everything that is happening in your mind. The only way to achieve this is to fix your attention on that which is behind your thought, at least for 5 minutes daily. That externalizes the thought process automatically. If you manufacture a calm mind, because calmness is the substratum of your thought process, because awareness is the basic foundation of your thought, if you daily take a dip into that, the thought process becomes external to your perception. So you can handle it. It's that easy. Otherwise, you never know in what situation, how you will react and what you will create. है ना? ये टेक्निक समझ में आया आपको? It is easy, but it requires practice. Another technique is to enhance your awareness. अब ये कैसे करते हैं? If the mind is more aware than identified, you can easily control it. Mind management is easy. How do you do this? See, the basic yogic process I will mention here, but again, without practice, it won't make much sense to you. How do you change your awareness? for most people, the only awareness they know of is body consciousness and mind they are conscious of their thoughts, they are conscious of their body. Now yoga has a very powerful method to change this state. What they tell you is, see, you might have heard of the term chakras. Don't think it is something mystical. What they are telling you is, in very scientific language I will put it, there are junction points in your body where you can concentrate vital energy, the energy that you feel within your body, you can concentrate it through the power of your attention at certain junction points. If you concentrate this energy only at the lower junction points, which are Mooladhara, Swadhisthana and Manipuraka, only body consciousness will prevail in your mind. If you lift that energy to the Anahata, at least to the heart center, how do you lift that energy? Through the power of your attention, which means keeping the mind in the heart. If you fix your attention in the heart, lift your energy there consciously, body consciousness drops. You are just aware of everything going on. Awareness peaks, but not with body consciousness. Body consciousness will drop automatically. So anything that you are thinking about, whether it is science, whether it is Vedanta, whether it is some new discovery, research, whatever you are thinking about, at which plane you are thinking becomes important. If your vital energies are sort of only traveling along the lower planes, your entire science will only be committed towards achieving more pleasures for the body, because you are only body conscious. Your sense of yourself is only the body. So you will use that science only to bring more pleasure to your body. If you have gone to the heart center or above that, anything that you think of or research into, you will use it for that particular level of development, for that particular awareness, for that particular unfolding of that intelligence. For example, yogis and rishis, because they have committed their vital energies to the heart, they become so very compassionate. Their intelligence becomes all inclusive, because of the simple fact that they have identified themselves with the essence of their being, not merely with the body. So see this is a yogic process which is telling you where you commit your vital energy, according to that your awareness unfolds. Higher the commitment of vital energy, the higher it will be your sense of yourself, and you will function accordingly. When your sense of yourself is something else, when you are far above body consciousness, when you have developed the intelligence to understand awareness is the source of my being, and that same awareness is manifested in different bodies and minds, you will have an all-inclusive philosophy of life only, which includes everybody, which has a deep level connection with everything in this universe, because it is an externalization of my own being. So your intelligence will function at that level, at the highest possible level. So this simple yogic process was part and parcel of our educational system in the Vedic age, but we lost it in a way. Today it has to be put into a scientific paradigm and represented again. But the simple way to, as I told you, augment awareness is to change. The yogi does it this way, to lift your vital energies to the higher centers. It will change the level of your awareness. You see, the jnani type, the thinker, tries to do this by means of thought, because his greatest reliance is on thought. The bhakta tries to do it through the emotion, but the yogi tries to do it just by handling vital energy. So this is a sambhavana, ये एक possibility है हमारे life में कि you can augment awareness and enhance your levels of awareness through all these processes. Then of course the common thing which I have told you earlier also, the third point about mind management is you regulate life to a certain extent. It is not enough to just go after a high standard of life. The quality of your life matters most. And when I say regulating life, I mean bringing a certain amount of regulation in your life activities, your hours of eating, sleeping, working, a little regulation in that, a very haphazard kind of life will result in a very erratic mind. ये खुद ही आप करके देखो, you will see why this makes sense. You know, in fact, this is how we practice in our monasteries also. If you, in a fixed period every day, if you practice meditation, whether you like it or not, on every day your mind will want to go into meditation at that time. ये natural हो जाता है. This is the nature of the mind. So bringing a little routine into our life, you know what you are doing, externally it may appear like a routine, internally more freedom has come into your life. So you can see the life of very successful people who are successful in every sense, not just in terms of IQ. Such people have created this kind of a life where they have consciously developed good habits. Good habits is what was always talked about in our culture, simple thinking. No, it is actually high thinking, simple living. Not simple thinking, high thinking but simple living. Keeping your mind at a certain level, that's the most important thing. So all these help in managing your mind. If you make all this a habit now, see, you are very young. If you make these your habits now, this is your default state now, your life will follow. You will understand even when you are 40, 50, you will understand the value of this. But just now, in what you do in youth, early youth especially, it stays with you throughout your life. You build on that. You just ripen on these habits. So make all this very clear to your mind just now. Okay, this is a very important thing in my life. You must not take it as being a restriction of my freedom. You don't take it otherwise like this. This is an essential thing to know. Then we come to the laws of relationships, which are very important for mind management. This is part of your curriculum because the relationships you make, unless they are with a certain level of commitment, they will jeopardize your mind. What is basically a relationship? See, please close this. Please understand this, that relationships are based on certain basic values and it is a part of emotional intelligence. Today all over the world they are trying to study this in a very deep way. A relationship is basically about sharing what you have with another. It is about sharing. Now sharing means giving, isn't it? Giving freely of yourself, whatever you have, to another. Now if you are not capable of giving, which means you don't have something to give, will that relationship work? If you do not have anything substantial, something of value to give, a relationship will not work. If you are not in the position of a giver, the relationship will not work. This is a basic thing you should understand. Most people enter into relationships out of frustration because they are too stressed out, they want some distraction in their life, so go into a relationship. That is no way to create a relationship. There you will only try to extract some form of joy from the other person. So it flops. First of all, you should be a giver. And how will you be a giver if you are not developed within yourself? That is why yoga, in every way, if your life is in your hands, you are overflowing by yourself with confidence, with bliss, with joy, then you can share it with another. So a relationship, you can share it with another. This law was given by Buddha long back, 2500 years back. He gave this statement that if your purpose is only to extract joy from somebody, it will not work. If your purpose is to share your joys with others, you are so full, so overflowing from within that you would like to share it with somebody, then that person will also respond similarly. You see, a beggar, a bankrupt person cannot give, isn't it? So first you should develop yourself, your thought, your emotion, your awareness should reach their peak. Then only a mature relationship is possible, otherwise it's just like a play. The other person is a plaything for you. So nothing is going to work. You can be sure of that. So please understand, these are all things not to be played with. You must have the maturity to enter into a relationship only if you are overflowing with something which you would like to share. Not otherwise. Your thought, your emotion, your will, your love has reached a pitch where you are all satisfied by yourself, but you would like to also share it with others. So then you learn the art of giving. Then it will work like magic. You know, a beggar cannot satisfy another beggar. A rich man can satisfy anybody. So also first become rich in yourself. First, in your faculties, God-given faculties. Through the processes of yoga, you must become all-sufficient yourself first, and then any relationship will work for you. This is the basic thing you must understand about human relationships. They are not barter, it's not a business. That is why relationship is based on commitment. It is something sacrosanct. It is absolute commitment, and you cannot play with it. If you make these things basic in your life, these principles absolute in your life will be wonderful. It will just bloom like a flower. So understand this is the essential part of emotional intelligence. Such a relationship becomes devotional in nature. Out of that spirit of sharing, devotion is generated. It is not just any emotion. And this devotion evolves you. Even in a human relationship, there can be a very deep degree of devotion. Devotion only evolves you. So it's a relationship, the very purpose of it is to evolve the human being, isn't it? Or is it to devolve you? It is to evolve you. The human being can become like a god, or he can become an animal based on his relationship. So if you want it to evolve you, you must handle it in a very mature way. Understanding these basic facts about relationships. You know, in the Vedic age, it was considered, why I am giving you that paradigm is, to a certain extent you will understand what they have to contribute in our today modern life. They used to say there are 4 purusharthas. You might have heard of this in the Vedic times. What are they? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, 4 goals of life. Any human being you see, he will have some idea of this. Dharma, some idea of righteousness. Dharma is here not religion, it means righteous living. Then Artha, you need wealth. Kama, satisfying legitimate desires. And Moksha, some idea of liberation, what should be the goal of life. So this is natural to the human experience. Now they always insisted that Artha and Kama should be based on Dharma. And they also insisted that if you play with Dharma, which means the principles of righteous living which are universal, then you will get nothing of these. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, dharmo hantaram hanti. Dharma protects him who protects Dharma, and Dharma destroys him who destroys Dharma. If you play with these basic universal principles of good living, you will lose. And if you bring them into your life, culture them, you will become a great human being, one who can really contribute to society and to the world at large. Hai na? Aap hi soch ke dekho, if you cannot handle your emotion maturely, can you handle the other person's emotions? So what will a relationship end in? Something very ugly, isn't it? So don't venture into all this. Experiments at this level were not allowed in our culture. Because relationships should be committed. Make all these things clear to your mind. Those of you who feel intensely about this, you will see just following this little bit will develop your emotional intelligence enormously. And success will be yours anywhere. All problems are coming because of this. In fact, most of you youngsters, the intelligence is getting invested in solving problems created by wrong relationships, wrong emotions, all this. So don't waste your youth and energies unnecessarily like this. You must know some of these basic principles. You see how scientific the whole thing is. These are our normal cultural standards. This is why your cultural ideals are really ideals of very high emotional intelligence. India that way is sociologically unique. You see the simple story of Ramayana. What levels of commitment are there, emotional commitment? Take that simple incident of Bharat coming and telling Sri Ram to please come back to the kingdom. Although Sri Ram is telling him again and again that you are my brother, I am giving you this, I am telling you, you go and rule the kingdom, I am giving the kingdom to you, still he says, I will never do that because my elder brother alone can be king there. At the most I can be your representative, but I cannot be in your place. What level of where the relationship has taken the person, you see. It has made him completely selfless like a sadhu. So a relationship can ennoble your entire being. It can help you evolve very high. But if you play with it, it can destroy you. है ना? तो आप ही सोच के देखो, this is an essential part of mind management which nobody gives. Very sorry state of affairs. You must know essentially what is mattering in your life. Emotions play a crucial role in any man's life. If you have not learned to make them sattvic, regulate them, control them and draw their energies for positive purposes, you have failed in emotional intelligence. So this is regarding the laws of relationships. Now we will go into how to handle negativity. When negativity comes into our life, how exactly will you handle it? So let me show this to you in the form of slides. You see, any problem, whether it is individual or collective, like you have a number of today individual, you can say youth problems which affect the individual. Like for example, attention deficit, it is a major problem, right? Attention deficit, ADHD, आपने सुना होगा? Flitting of attention. So all these problems, what are the source factors? We are not going to just give you symptomatic cures. What are the source factors for these problems and even collective problems which we as a society face? What are the source factors and how do we tackle them? So this I will show you in the form of a slide here. Just pay attention to this. You see the core causes for your suffering or grief. Take one problem here, ADD. It is attention deficit disorder. This is a common problem all over the world, constant flitting of attention. Now you see the symptoms are distraction of attention, treatment is tranquilizers or sometimes even antidepressants are given, but the actual cause is uncontrolled exposure. That is the actual cause. Before you can process a level of information, so much more data has entered your mind and your mind is basically very unstable, you do not know how to process it. It results in attention deficit. The attention constantly keeps flitting from one thing to the other. And the solution can only be, that is why, not the tranquilizer, but the solution will be goal oriented focused life. That is the solution for ADHD. Please make this clear to your mind. Just popping in a pill so that I calm my nerves somehow, that is just removing the symptoms very temporarily. But the actual cure lies in a goal oriented focused life committed to high values. Look at depression, each problem, just look at that. Depression, the symptoms, no sustained interest in anything and you are constantly in a negative mood. So again the treatment consists of antidepressants. The actual cause is ego-centeredness. Have you ever thought like this? Your cultural values will give you this. If you are only bound up in yourself and working only to exaggerate your ego all the time, it will lead to a certain level of depression, frustration, because you are not your ego essentially. You are the self. Ego is a manufactured product of your mind. So, ego-centeredness, the solution will be service, yoga, creativity, learning something new, getting out of the clutches of your ego, ego-bound sense life, getting out of that. That is the solution actually for depression and not taking all sorts of medicines which will remove the symptoms temporarily. Then at the social level, at the level of society, you see corruption and all these problems, which are today's our number one problems these are. What are they due to? The symptoms are exploitation at every level, the treatment is punishment, and all sorts of laws are being formulated. The actual cause is selfishness and greed, isn't it? You see, it's in your mind, the cause. So the solution will be social responsibility. You make such people work for others, give them service outreach activities, they will overcome this tendency for corruption and exploitation. Crime, this is another devastating aspect of our society. You see, the symptoms are deviancy in behavior at so many levels. Again, the treatment is punishment or counseling, usually both given in various ways, but the actual cause is lust, anger and pride. This is what your culture always told you. The negative emotions arise from toxic thoughts like all these. So the solution again should be service, outreach activities, bringing good emotions into your mind. Service does that automatically. Culturing the devotional aspect of your being, consciously raising your mind. That is the essential thing. That if individually we become sensitive to all this, collectively we can make a huge change. Please see this. Always change comes from the individual front, isn't it? So at least you must understand all this in a very deep way. Then environmental degradation, which is another major issue. So here actually pollution is the cause for that, and the treatment again starts with awareness, but the actual cause is again consumerism and greed. Our consumption patterns have become so enormous, desire is so absolute and sort of not at all under control, that we have exploited all resources in whatever measure possible. Again, the solution can be only service, understanding yajna bhav, which means the interconnectedness of life, so respect for life. All these are the actual solutions. See, in our heart of hearts we know this very well, but it is important to again and again run this through our head so that it becomes a sanskar. Tomorrow you will be the leaders of this society. If you are not sensitive to this, how will you make the changes required? Tell me. Don't try to find silly cures, fixing this and trying to fix that. Go to the heart of the problem. Everything will be revealed to you. Your intelligence should learn to function like this. Then only changes are possible in our society. If you want to make the country great, you must start from solutions like these. And you must be paragons of that ideal. You must emanate that virtue. Then only you will remain a leader, a real leader of the masses. Leadership is not about being a boss. Leadership is about having a mind which is all inclusive and so productive of good that your very presence generates that level of goodness in others. So this kind of inspirational leadership will only come if you understand problems from within, not just from without, from the outside. Again, this has to be closed, the door. There's noise coming from there. Now you see, one more slide which I want to show you on this is, what are the obstacles to your happiness on the individual front? What is it that is causing this kind of a negative mood in your mind? So pay attention to this slide. You see, the very first cause, the obstacle to your happiness, is alienation of mind from its source, which means there is no idea about how I am functioning. Normally, people do not have any idea of Atman or self or anything like that. They just know something is happening in their mind. So alienation of mind from the self is the preliminary, the very first basic cause for all unhappiness. Second cause is all the emotional turmoil in your mind in the form of emotional insecurities, right? The third cause is mind conditioned into negativity due to wrong habits. See, like for example, there is something called perfectionism, which means you are doing something, wanting something to be done to perfection where it is not required. There are people of this type, who will destroy themselves to perfect some silly thing which was not required anyway. So where are you giving your attention, your energies? That becomes very important. And then they will keep commenting on people who are not as perfectionist as they are. To what outcome you never know. Try to see this in your own practical life, how it works. Then there is what is called social comparisons, which means jealousy, inferiority. These are again causes for negativities in your mind. These are all obstacles to your happiness. Then materialism, which means judging everything by the pleasure it gives you. Pleasure is not even happiness, but you are judging everything by that. So this is another level which puts your mind into negative states. And then maximizers, that is want more even when satisfied, greedy people basically, unable to enjoy the present moment. They do not live in the present at all. Anything you give them, they will ask for what next. And then they are people who have no sense of gratitude also many times. See, if this basic sense of gratitude is not there, I will come to that when I discuss happiness with you, is not there, you will never be satisfied. So, all these are the causes for the emotional insecurities, negativities in your mind. Small causes they are, but they can create huge whirlpools in your mind. And please see this, a self-alienated mind will remain unhappy no matter how positive its content. This is the core cause for depression, which means from within yourself you have no sense of yourself apart from your mental world, your thoughts. You are never able to still the mind. See, this is a huge quantum leap into your being, your ability to objectify thought. Once you get a hold over this through the practice of yoga, your mind will not suffer this self-alienation. It is always stable and balanced, so your thoughts have a very stable platform on which to perform. So, it will not be unstable and unhappy, the mind. This can only be generated by stilling the mind periodically. That is why yoga. Otherwise, self-alienated mind constantly. And remember a few more very practical things which I have put there. You do not have to be in the same room to catch someone's stress. Isn't this true? It is transmittable by email, text and social media. Emotions are contagious online. Constantly you are exposing yourself to the media. Next class I will be telling you something about mirror neurons, a very important neurophysiological aspect of the brain. You actually mirror those emotions into yourself and experience them. So your mind can suffer very unstable states. That is why control at every level is recommended. If you want to manage your mind well, you must keep it well, isn't it? If I want to preserve something, don't I give care and attention to it? Now you want to preserve your mind, shouldn't you give care and attention to it? It is the most important thing. It can, I told you, become a gold mine or a waste paper basket, a dustbin. What you want to make it, it will become that. वो कल्पवृक्ष का एक story है ना, you might have heard of it in our culture. There is a very nice story. A man was walking in a forest and very tired, and he suddenly came upon a tree and sat down in its shade. Now he was so restless and tired, he thought, oh, if only I had a glass of water, and suddenly a glass of water appeared there. Then he thought, oh, if only I had some food, and food appeared there. He was under a kalpavriksha, a wish fulfilling tree. So whatever he wished, it was coming. So he said, now if I had a bed to rest, and a nice wonderful bed came there, and he was resting and eating all this. Then suddenly he thought, what if a tiger appeared here now when I am living so beautifully? And a tiger appeared and ate him up. What they are trying to say is, mind is like that kalpavriksha. A well developed mind is actually a wish fulfilling tree. Whatever you want, it will produce, it will make it happen. Because, so basically learn how to handle your mind. It is your kalpavriksha or it is your garbage heap. Anything you can make it. Now, once we have seen these two slides, I would like to go into stress management. It is part of your mind management thing. Now, what is stress? All of us know it, so too much explanation is not required. Stress is a undercurrent of perpetual anxiety which has no explanation. It is constantly there with most minds, and it is the greatest trigger of today's psychosomatic illnesses. And even 4-year-old children have told me, I am feeling stressed. They do not understand what it means, but they are feeling some kind of a pressure on their mind. So, now what is this stress? We will be studying a bit of it and the solutions to this. Look at this. Stress is caused by what? Negative emotions, complexes in the subconscious mind. This is the primary cause for stress. Basically, you are not able to manage your mind. It has become more negative than you know. That causes stress, not the other person. Please know this. The other person is just a trigger, a stimulus. Stress is happening in your system because you can't handle your mind. It has become so negative. See, that is a picture of your mind, just some kind of a picture which is showing you your conscious mind and subconscious. Subconscious is a huge portion, not that small bit. But here, what you are generating in the conscious mind is going into your subconscious mind. This is what you must understand from that. So, if in my conscious mind there are negative emotions, then what will happen? Negative emotions like anger, hatred, jealousies, all this is raging. It is going to go into my subconscious and become my sanskars. And to that, if I add a defensive attitude, which means what? The other person is responsible for my whatever stress, not me. I am very good, but the other person. Or so fix the other person, or fix my boss, or fix my friend, fix my peers. If this is the attitude, you cannot get rid of your stress. The other person may have triggered your problem, but the problem happened within you. If I could manage myself, I would not suffer stress, even if the boss is like that or the other person is like that. So, this wrong value system comes from our defensive attitude, our justifying stress in terms of something external. So, this and along with all that stress causes conflicting thoughts in your mind, creates complexes in your subconscious. This is the core fact. So, it has gone from your conscious plane, but in the subconscious it will keep blossoming again into the conscious plane. So, you are constantly in a state of stress, even when that object is gone from you. You are back home from your job and the boss is no longer with you, but still the stress is going on, anxiety is going on, it builds up, it is cumulative in effect. So, constantly you are stressed out because of negative emotional activity in your mind. Like for example, you see there I have given, when you are preparing for an exam, psychological stress factors may be laziness, procrastination, inattention, anger, all bundled into a complex. You did all of this, please see. Now, it has become a complex, and if you are dishonest in the exam, that increases your stress. So, to a great extent your stress is mind manufactured. So, then how will you get rid of it? You must tell me the solution. If you have understood this diagram, you know your mind has manufactured your stress. How will you get rid of it? Bringing basic stability to the mind, so that these complexes do not form at all. My mind is so stable, the thoughts are so objective to my experience, I am able to handle them. They are not etching my mind surface and creating these complexes at all. When somebody irritates me, I take it for what it is. I do not add anything to it. I maintain my calmness of mind no matter what happens on the outside. This much maturity is expected, especially tomorrow in your workplace. This will be very much required. And be absolutely honest. If you are dishonest, it will increase your stress, which means you try to take revenge on the other person or invent tales about that other person just because of your stress or your jealousy. All this will never work. So, understand, your mind should be tranquil no matter what is on the external front. Then only there will be no stress. So, basically it is the heart of mind management. Understanding my mind has to be stable. For that, meditation is the direct means to overcome stress. Every day I calm my mind. I try to produce very stable states of mind. I calm my mind, I bring tranquility into my entire personality, not always in that restless excitability mode. So, all these small things if you practice, you can handle these states of mind. And if there are strong negative complexes already in the mind, I resolve them through the right attitude. I understand that that has happened due to a particular reason. So, I allow that reason to remain there, I do not add something to that reason. The boss got angry for a particular reason, it was an outflow of his bad mood. Why should it ruin my life? So, this basic stability, only if you train your mind, it will come into you, into your system, and not otherwise. Otherwise, in some level of stress everybody is going through. So, practice a little meditation, bringing stability to your mind, and you can handle negative complexes. They will not form first of all. If they form also, you will know how to handle them. Very strong anger, hatred, all this can cause terrible states of mind. And your work, that is why they say stress is work related, because all these emotions have come to play in the workplace. So, basically my mind, bereft of everything, it is very stable. So, when anything comes in also, it remains manageably stable. Then I can handle stress, right? You understood the thing? Many people will give you many ideas on stress management, but the basic thing is this: I have full control over my response reaction mechanism, so I do not suffer stress. Every day I practice meditation, I experience deep calmness of mind, so I do not suffer stress. This is the basic fundamental thing you should know about stress. Then one more thing which you should know in mind management is what is called decision making. I will just point out to a few things and you will know what it is. See, when you are trying to look at that little boy in the slide, if you place these two things before the little boy, within a few seconds he will decide he wants the cake, not the apple. Now, he has a choice. What makes him decide the cake? Tell me. Taste. So, it is an object of pleasure for the young boy. If the cake is an object of pleasure, he is choosing it. When you grow up, this you are doing as young boys, when you grow up and you are say 25, what will you choose between the two for breakfast? Still the cake? You will choose an apple. As you grow older, you will prefer only the apple. Now, what we are trying to tell you here is, decision making entirely rests on a kind of basic inner discrimination, which means discretion between what is merely pleasant and what is really good. In any decision that you take, this point will come up. Yours is a great culture which told you these two are different things. What is merely pleasurable is not always what is good for you. Pleasure is some short term satisfaction, good is long term fulfillment. The two are different. So, whenever there is a choice in front of you, always think the long term fulfilling choice is what is called shreyas, what is preferable, what is good for you in the long run, and what the short term attraction is, what is pleasurable. It is called preyas. It will ensnare your senses, but it will not give you any level of fulfillment. It is very temporary, and these two are different. Basically, you must be able to make this difference in your life before you make a decision. Understand that these two are coming before me in this form, this particular form. Here I have given a very simple form. In very big decisions you will have to take in life. So, see if it is Shreyaskar or Preyaskar. First thing, survey all the options, see which is Shreyaskar. Choose that which brings Shreyas, which brings long term satisfaction and fulfillment. And then you must cut out the other options. You must remove the cake from the table. Otherwise, your mind will swing back. This is the nature of the mind. So, for decision to work, now you have only one choice, which you have made based on very solid grounds. then that choice will dominate your life and your decision is complete. See, simple points these are, but they make a huge difference to you. We had a whole session of this sometime back here only in the seminar hall in IIT. And this everyone asks for the simple fact that at the point when so many options are available, I don't know what decision to make. But this deep inner, see, yoga again gives you the capacity to do this. Because mind is stable, I have very sharp discrimination. I can find out what is the right thing to do and what is merely pleasurable to do quickly if the mind is very stable. Then I will make the right choices. Whether you what career options you are going to choose tomorrow, which company you are going to choose, how you are going to build your life in that particular company, even your family, whatever you get into, decision making is vital to your happiness in life, isn't it? You will have to make very big decisions on the individual front and collectively for your society, for your nation. Maybe you will be working in Google tomorrow. You will have to make major decisions there. Unless you have this strong sense, will this bring good to a whole lot of people, or is it just merely something pleasurable? So this distinction must come strongly into you. Any decision will work due to this. You will make the right decisions. Otherwise, you know what you will fall in for? Popular opinion, majority opinion, peer pressure. If you don't have this sense, you will fall for all that. So again, this depends on how you have trained your mind. Hai na? Are you seeing the truth of all this? Just now you can see it. So at least ingest some of these ideas for now. Now let me go to 5 practical tips to mind management. See, these are the practical things you can do every day. First is you think positive. Second is you are sociable, which means what? Not that you go out and mix with everybody. It means what? You are a friend to everybody. You don't consciously make enemies. You don't consciously go out and criticize and sort of, you know, there are certain minds which have this tendency to at once take the negativities of others, a very critical outlook. So you don't have such, you are naturally sociable. You are naturally able to accept others. This is the meaning. Third is you eat healthy. Don't get used to eating only fast food at this age. It has its effect on your mind. You see, it's a small point, but it's important, very important. Then, keep your mind active and learn new things. If you get into sluggish, tamasic states, it will affect your mind, the performance of your mind. So, remain active and learn new things. You are creating new neural pathways. The learning process is like that. And exercise. I hope you all are exercising with your very heavy study routine. Exercise should be part of your life. So, these are the simple tips for mind management. Always remember this bottom line, you rewire your brain through your mind, through your thoughts. So, keep an attention on your thoughts. Habitually, how am I thinking? What are the thoughts that cross my mind? That is the way to mind management. Now, I will just give you some, we have another 5 minutes, I will give you basic points on happiness. Because study of happiness is essential part of what we are calling mind management. So, once you have this understanding of happiness, you have a, I would say, a very good understanding of how to keep the mind positive. There was a whole course called Study of Happiness, Science of Happiness, about a year back, which took place right here, and a huge number of students attended that course because they want to know fundamentally what is it that keeps my mind happy, how do I manufacture it by myself. So, let me just give you a summary of it, some of the essential points. First of all, do you understand happiness is a state of your mind? So, mind is essential, very important, positive state of mind is essential to your happiness. On an everyday basis, what can you do to make the mind positive, keep the mind positive? First is learn to appreciate the good in your life. First thing, there is so much goodness in your life. Today you are in a position, very few can be in this position. You are studying at one of the premier educational institutions in this country, and which is looked up to even in foreign countries. God has endowed you with the very best of brains. You have come from such good families. You have everything that life has to offer. Are you appreciative? Do you understand this? And habitually, do you appreciate the goodness in others? Do you talk about it? या सिर्फ इसने ये नहीं किया, इसने ऐसा किया, इसने वैसा किया. This should not be your default dialogue, even in your mind. Make the mind positive through sentiments of appreciation. Appreciate the good in others. Anything of value you see, you should say, ah, this is beautiful. If this sentiment does not arise in your mind, if you have a tendency to put down everything, you will be in perpetual depression. Your mind will give the immediate effect. First point. Second point is gratitude. Be grateful for the blessings of your life. Please see this, even for a simple plate of food to come in front of you. Do you know how many people have worked? At least 15 people have worked. Today you had lunch and came here. 15 people have worked for that single plate of food to come in front of you, starting from that farmer who sowed the seeds. And you just, when you are not gratitude for, you don't have gratitude for what you have, you insult the work and the energy of all these 15 people. That has an effect on your mind. So be grateful for every single thing that has come into your life. Be grateful for it. So be humble. Be thankful on an everyday basis. So be respectful to the people around you at least. To whomever you encounter, you know, namaste in our culture, what it means? I bow down to the God in you. That is why we join our palms. This should be our attitude to anybody coming in front of us. Then positivity will reign in your mind. Because this is the way of life. This is not some theory. You have to be grateful because you are taking from life. At least acknowledge it and be grateful. Tomorrow you will have to give back. So gratefulness should be an undercurrent in your mind constantly. Respectfulness and gratefulness. Then the logic of basic sentiments and emotions, let me tell you. See, your normal logic, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. This applies only to mathematics. It doesn't apply at the level of emotion or awareness. What do I mean by this? If you share love, if you give service, if you give care, empathy, it only grows. Usually people don't want to give because they feel somewhere they will lose. It will deplete something in them. The logic of emotion is as you give, it grows. Please see this. Suppose there is a mother at home. Now, you are the son. When you go home, she gives 100% of her love to you. She is so happy that you have come. She does so many things for you. A mother's nature is like that. Now, after a few days, your sister also comes. She is able to give 100% of her love to that sister also. Now, if she gave 100% love to you, she must be at 0 level now when your sister comes, according to your mathematics. But this maths doesn't work like this. She is able to give 100% love to your sister also. When somebody else comes, a guest comes, she is able to give love to that guest also. She is able to serve everybody. Why? She is basically of a loving disposition. She is a person with love. This is the nature of love. The more you give, the more it grows. 2 minus 2 is equal to 4, not 0. Which means what? If you give your love to somebody, you feel it is 2 minus 2, you don't become 0. It adds to you, you become 4. You have developed the loving disposition and you can give out more and more. When does it deplete within you? If you don't give it. If you don't give your love, it will become zero. If you don't give care, if you don't give attention to others, if you don't include others in your life, you will become a zero. The more you give, the more it grows. You know, you have heard of Purnamadam Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnamevavashishyate. This is an important mantra in Vedas. They are telling you that is Purna. Brahman is Purnam. This world, which is its manifestation, also is Purnam. And that Purnam creates this Purnam. And if you remove Purnam from Purnam, Purnam remains over. Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. It means this. If you give wholly of something, still it remains over as whole. If you cannot give, you will get depleted of it. So this is the logic of love. If you want to be happy, you must have a loving disposition, one of giving. You are the giver anywhere. Just now you cannot give monetarily, but how can you give? You see, to your family, how can you give? You can give in terms of love and care and attention, feeling, isn't it? In so many ways you can show your love. But if you want to remain totally away, or you don't even acknowledge what they have done for you, what your society has done for you, how much you have taken from society, then you will become loveless, unhappy. So understand this, a loving disposition naturally brings great happiness into your life. Now let me focus on one more thing. Engagement produces happiness, high level engagement of the mind. Have you seen this? If you are absorbed in some mathematical problem, in something which is deeply engaging to your mind, it will produce a vast amount of happiness in your system. It is a higher level of happiness. Please remember this, basically, there are different levels of happiness available to you. You can watch that video, Ladder of Happiness. It is there in NRCVEE videos. The ladder of happiness. Human personality means you are given this ladder of happiness. At the base of the ladder, the very first rung of the ladder is sensory level happiness, what you get from sensual objects. That is not the only level, that is only the first rung. After that you have happiness born of thought. After that you have happiness born of your intelligence, intellect. You see, a high level mathematical problem, even a game of chess, it simply engages you. Flow is generated. So you have a lot of happiness out of that. Then you have the happiness of service. That is the next rung of the ladder. You just give something to a person in need, and the satisfaction that will spread across his or her face will produce enormous satisfaction in you. Gandhiji says this in his autobiography, you know. He says, once he gave something to a poor child, and the happiness that in degrees spread across that face, it completely satisfied him. For the first time he understood joy comes when joy is given to another. This is the strange thing about happiness. You make somebody happy, your heart will be full of happiness. So understand that the joy of service is very high. Beyond that is the happiness born of meditation, the stopping thought or bringing very sattvic thought into your mind. It just, your mind explodes with bliss, very high level happiness. So these are all the rungs of happiness, the ladder of happiness is available to you. You know, when you become unhappy, when you restrict your happiness only to the first level of the ladder, the first rung, you are trying to maximize objects there, collecting more and more objects. That is not the way to increase your happiness. You must climb the ladder, go to the next level, go to the thought level, the intellectual level, the service level, the meditation level. That is the way to maximize happiness in your life. If you try to maximize happiness only by remaining at one rung, it can't be done that way. You must climb the ladder. So this is basically what you should know about happiness. Finally, I will give you one equation for happiness and finish today's class. You see, initially you think the external object is responsible for your happiness. Gradually, as you mature in life, you will understand your mind went into a particular state, so happiness was generated, maybe stimulated by the object, but happiness is a state of mind. Finally, you understand happiness was nothing but a property of yourself, your own being, reflected by the mind and superimposed on that object, attributed to that object, but essentially it is my own being. Not that it is happy, it is happiness itself, it is all bliss. When its reflection falls on your mind, the mind becomes happy, if it is not very cluttered. And that happiness level you superimpose on objects and you give credit to the object. So this entire thing, it is to be known by oneself in the state of yoga. If you enter the state of meditation, you will know this by yourself. This is how we learn vivek, discrimination, because it's an experience with you. So this is what you must essentially know about mind management. We have covered a lot of essential points today. Go over this again and again. With the help of your meditation, this should become part and parcel of your thinking. Not like one course class, not like that. Part and parcel of my thought process, and a lot of fulfillment will come into your life. So we'll end today's class here.